Welcome to the True Man Podcast. This is an invitation to radical reconstruction of a man's masculine heart and soul in a place of safe community where we dare to ask questions deep seated inside a man and explore ways to help you become a better man, a better son, a better dad, and a better spouse. Well, thank you for being a part of the True Man Podcast. This is episode number 237. Hard to believe that we've recorded so many podcasts over the years. And you know what's interesting is so many of those recordings have come from this very spot that I'm sitting at right now in this very moment. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go back and check. But I want to say when we moved here to Georgia that we were maybe in the neighborhood of episode 25, 30, something like that. And so here we are, a couple of hundred podcasts later. I've been on many, many other podcasts. I have just done so many things from the spot that I'm sitting in right now in this very moment. But as I send this recording out, if I don't lose my voice here in this season of pollen, it's fun to look back and think that this is the very last podcast that I will record sitting in this spot. It's been quite a journey. It's been quite a powerful time in my life over the last 4 or 5 years since we moved to Georgia. Again, this is podcast number 237. We've recorded well over 230 podcasts. I've been a part of 5 collaborative books. I've written my own book, True Man, True Ways, a roadmap from discovery to the masculine heart. Been able to speak. I've been blessed to meet my mentor at Givers University and be able to push the ball forward there. And we're doing so many great things right now, not the least of which, and we'll discuss this next week, is the American Family Renaissance. And True Man Life Coaching really paved the way for that. And we'll talk more about that again next week. But if you've been with me over the last few weeks, you know that I've been building up to this week with a short 3-week series to get us to this point. So what is this all about? What in the world is all this about? Let me ask you something right out of the gate before I begin to tell my story. If you're watching this on camera right now, you can see that hog on my chest, and it's good to have that hog back on it. But what's something in your life that you've been carrying around for years that, deep down, it's probably time to lay it down? Not ignore it, not bury it, not pretend it didn't happen, but face it, learn from it, and finally let God redeem it. Because that's what this conversation is about today, friends. Every podcast I've ever done has come together differently. They all have their own personality. Some come together weeks ahead of time, some come together days before, some only hours before, if not minutes, before I hit the record button. But this one started 35 years ago, approximately. And somehow it came back to life at about 3 o'clock in the morning the other day, and we created a whole series out of this. Have you ever had that happen to you, that a mental alarm goes off at 3 o'clock in the morning and you just got to get up and wander around? I usually go right. So this is kind of the culmination of all that. How about when something from your past, something that you thought was buried, handled, finished, just rises back up, not to haunt you, but to teach you something you weren't ready to learn back 30 some years ago? So I made my 20-year-old version of myself made a decision at one point that really changed everything. When I was 20 years old, I was standing at the crossroads of life. You know, many big decisions start when you're young like that. Stay in Iowa and figure it all out. I had an opportunity to go to Iowa State, keep working in the grocery business, but the other option was to follow the dream, follow my dream to be a college basketball coach and head on down to the University of Arkansas and be a manager on the basketball team and really learn the game from a Hall of Famer, Nolan Richardson. What did I do? I chose the dream to get around a top tier basketball program, become that manager, maybe learn the coaching craft was what I wanted to do. Basketball wasn't just something I liked, it was something I lived. I ate it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It consumed me. So the decision was quite easy. I packed up and went, but what came after that decision, I'm not sure was easy, but revealed the man that was to come. You know, before I left for that opportunity, I had a job interview with a man, and that guy asked me a question I've never forgotten, and in fact, have told this story over and over again. Do you want to be the big fish in the little pond, or the small fish in the big pond, or the big, or the big fish in the big pond? And without hesitation, I said, I want to be the big fish in the big pond. And that answer cost me that job. But I didn't really care because in my mind, Arkansas was my shot to become something bigger, my shot to prove something, my shot to matter in this world. And here's the truth. As I found out, I wasn't ready. Not even close. I was naive. I was a terrible student. If I'm being honest, part of the reason I was a terrible student was I was just flat out lazy. Not physically. I worked hard when it came to basketball, but in life, I lacked discipline. I lacked character in many cases, and I lacked direction. I cared about what I wanted, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get it, even if that meant collateral damage. So I got to Arkansas. I joined a fraternity, chased girls, drank beer like it was my job. And at the same time, I showed up to practices. I worked. I did what I was told, and I loved it because I love the game. There's nothing like being in that environment, the locker room, the preparation, the energy that it takes before the battle. If you've ever been there, you know it gets in your blood quickly. But behind the scenes, I was really living two lives. On the outside, I looked like I belonged. On the inside, I was cutting corners, lying, cheating, doing whatever it took to protect my position. Not because I was strong, but because I was insecure. Because deep down, I knew something wasn't right. And then there was that voice. Yes, you know the one that doesn't shout, but it doesn't go away either. This isn't right. You don't belong here. You know better. I heard it among the many other things that I heard over and over again, but I ignored it until I couldn't anymore. One day I found myself sitting in the athletic dorm. Season over, everything got quiet. And for the first time, I had to face myself. No noise, no distractions, no escape, just me. And I felt it. Broken, lonely, and lost. And I really didn't know what to do. So I did something that I really hadn't done in a long time. I grabbed my Bible, wiped the dust off of it, of course, opened it up, and I landed in Matthew. And I read this. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And something in me shifted. It wasn't loud, it wasn't emotional, it was clear. And I packed everything into my car that I quite possibly could. No big speech, no dramatic moment, just a quiet, firm decision. And in the darkness of nobody seeing me, I left, thinking, I don't know what this means. I don't know what I'm giving up, but I know I can't stay. And I drove away, really tail between my legs. I felt like a failure. And here's what nobody tells you: even when you make the right decision, it can still follow you around. And that decision haunted me for years, not because it was wrong, not because it cost me something, not because my decision was wrong, but because it cost me something. It did cost me something. And it felt like I walked away from something that I loved. I had from something that could have been. You ever make a decision like that? But where you know it's right, but it still hurts? You know, for years after that, I chased the feeling in search of a locker room, the guys, the commitment, the preparation, the sense of purpose. I tried to recreate it in different ways, different seasons, but I couldn't, because what I was really chasing was who I thought I could have been. And here's the truth most men I don't think want to face: the decisions that we make when we're young don't just disappear. They follow us, they shape us, they influence us, and sometimes they even define us if we let them. So let's get real here. What does redemption actually look like in the middle of something like this? Is it forgetting? No. Is it pretending it didn't happen? No. Is it going back and trying to rewrite history? You can't do that. Redemption is this: facing your past, learning from it, and allowing God to use it to build something new. So, how does this story go? Well, it's been over 30 years. I've been back to Fayetteville a couple times, once just passing through to see family and attend a game at Bud Walton Arena. I even took my son to see an Arkansas game when they were playing at Clemson when we lived at South Carolina. And yeah, I've cheered for the Razorbacks all these years, but some things never leave you. And if I'm honest, there was still something there. Unfinished, not broken, just unresolved. Like an old relationship that you never fully closed. Have you ever experienced that? You know what I'm talking about. We all have that old friend, something from our past, a place, a season, a decision that we haven't fully revisited. Not because we can't, but because we're not sure what we'll feel like when we do. And now life brings me back. Not as a 20-year-old kid, but as a man, a husband, a father, a man who's been shaped by life and by God. And you know what? This time, it's different. I'm not running towards something to prove myself. I'm walking into something with peace. And this time I'm not alone. I bring my wife, Jill, 30 years of marriage this year. Our stubborn dog, Barkley, Lord knows how many podcasts he's sat through, actually slept through, if we're being honest. We're stepping into family, into connection, into something deeper. You see, this isn't about the past anymore. This is about the move. It isn't about what could have been. It's about what is now. It's about redemption. It's about the power of letting go. You know, over the last 30 years, I've learned something simple. Life is what you make it. You can carry things forever, or you can let them go. Not casually, not carelessly, but intentionally. So here's the decision I'm making. Today, I choose to move forward. Today, I choose to let go of what no longer serves me. Today, I choose to make new memories. And here's really the image that I keep coming back to. You know, it feels a lot like putting on an old sweatshirt, a nice, comfy, extra large sweatshirt. You know the one, comfortable, familiar, worn, but in a good way. Sitting by a fire and watching your team win. Man, there's peace in that. So let me say this as I begin to wrap up today. Welcome back, old friend. Welcome back. You were never far from my thoughts, but this time I'm here differently, stronger, clearer, grounded. And this is what I know about God in all of this. God doesn't waste anything, not your mistakes, not your failures, not your detours. He uses all of it, every step, every wrong turn, every moment you thought you were disqualified for, and He redeems it. So, for the man listening right now, let me bring this home for you. Where in your life are you still carrying something you were never meant to carry this long? Where are you still holding on to a version of yourself that God has already called you out of? You don't need to go back to move forward, but hear me clearly. Redemption doesn't mean you have to go back physically. It means you need to go back emotionally, spiritually. You face it, you learn from it, and then you release it. Here's the truth. You are not who you were. You're not defined by your worst decisions. You are not stuck unless you choose to be. You know, and the great news is God makes all things new. That's not just a nice phrase. That is a promise. What was old can be made new, not erased, redeemed. Finally, as I leave Georgia, I don't leave with regret. I leave with gratitude. This place has shaped me, strengthened me, introduced me to people I'll carry for the rest of my life. And now God is leading us to the next chapter. So here's my challenge to you. Stop running from your past. Face it. Learn from it. Let God redeem it. Because the life you were meant to live isn't behind you, it's in front of you. Thank you, friends, for allowing me to share that personal story. It really has shaped my life in many, many ways. And I got to say, it's fun to think about how God has shaped everything in the last 30 years. So I'm looking forward to the future. Speaking of the future, again, we'll talk more about this next week, but the future of True Man Life Coaching is really through the American Family Renaissance that we'll talk more about next week. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I enjoyed preparing not just this one, but the three previous weeks to really build this out. And boy, we're about to head into the summer months here in May. And this year, I will be doing that in Arkansas. So if you're in the Bentonville, Fayetteville, Bella Vista area, Northwest Arkansas, drop by, say hi, and hey, woo pig suey, right? Can't end this episode without that. Thank you for listening. God bless you and take care.